Hello everyone, my name is Maria Silva and this is my week 4 discussion 4 video. And this video when I'm talking about my strategies, the new ideas that I found helpful in this course, I want to start with the strategy of communication. Communication for me was something that I found is so common. It's something that you do the whole time to communicate your needs and you listen to other people's needs. But now during this class, I really understood the importance of communicating because when you're in a classroom and you are working with students that sometimes cannot communicate their needs, it is very important for you to be able, or for us to be able to understand what their needs are and be able to communicate and be able to seek assistance and look for those who can help us meet their needs. So it's so important to be able to communicate and to look for that help, or to look for those that knows the subject much better, because they're going to be able to help us further to be able to meet our students' needs or their learning goals or objectives within their education. Also, ISI has the strategy of being able to communicate with those around me or those who work with me. That's something that I was able to see every week within our weekly meetings. Um, we all had kind of like the same questions, even though I did not really participate or really spoke um, during those meetings. When I was listening to the discussions and how you all communicated in between what needed to be done and the internships, I thought it was great because even though I didn't spoke up, I had the same concerns, I had the same questions, and thank you guys because you guys answered them, you and Professor Jacobs. So it was wonderful. I think communication is also so important, and it's also something that was spoken and emphasized by Professor Jacobs. It was just the idea of communicating with your kids, communicating with the parents, having that continuous communication with your parents so they are engaged within their students' education, really, and for them to help them succeed, to help them generalize, not only for the students to just learn whatever they learn within the school, but be able to generalize into into their communities and their homes. So communication for sure, I saw in a different way, and it was great. And then uh, the importance of being ready. The importance of being ready was something that I really learned because by being ready, you're showing your kids that you care. By being ready, that means you have a program and you know what to do. And that's something we talk about, the idea of having a bell to bell schedule. Of course, there's always things that's going to come up. There's always things that are going to come up. But by being ready, that means your classroom is completely set up. You have objectives, you have lesson plans, your classroom is accessible to all the students, you have all the necessary tools within your classroom, and then you have the lesson plans ready, and you're ready by knowing your students and knowing their needs and knowing what to implement within the classroom. And by being ready, I think it also comes to the idea of getting to know our students, and that means you be able to differentiate and really do inclusion and equality. um equity instead of equality. So by being ready, you are doing inclusion, which means we're using equity and we're giving each of our students what they need in able to be able to for them to be able to access their learning material and to be able to access their education to their fullest capacity. The other one, it will be consistency. So I think being ready is part of being consistent. The strategy of being consistent is great because what I have learned from my past year and a half being a teacher assistant in a special education classroom or the learning center is consistency. We're consistent, the groups are consistent, the their habits are consistent within the classroom, and they feel confident, they feel successful, because once my students got the routine and they knew what to do, they were very proud of themselves. So having that consistency is wonderful. I also like the idea of always implementing collaboration. Collaboration helps our students be able to expand their knowledge and to be able to collaborate in their own ways, in the way that they're socializing. They're expressing their needs. And something that I liked during this class is that I learned that socializing is not only part of making friends, but it's part of being successful, because having those social skills, it will help them to be able to be conscious within themselves, because they know their emotions, they know how to control them, and then they know how to express them, and they are able to do friends and be able to express their needs, not only to the educators but to other friends around them. That's something that I saw recently during summer school, because now I'm in summer school, and I got to do social emotional um, a social story, and it was great. So we were going through all the emotions, and I saw it happening within the classroom. I saw this girl expressing her feelings, and then she expressed what she needed, and she got it, and it was great. It's the only time we met, and being able to see her, it was wonderful to see her implement it, because social emotional was so important. Because I asked this girl, "What will you do if you feel sad?" And she said, "I call mom. Mom will come to school and she'll pick me up and she'll calm me down." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, no!" No. For you to be able to understand your emotions, we need to be able to know how to control them within our school setting. So being able to generalize not only with mom, but be able to generalize within the classroom and with new people or people you have known for a while now. Um, I also went a lot more in depth. I learned a lot more in depth about the MTSS, and the different tiers, tier 1, 2, and 3, and how I can implement them within our IEP goals. So being able to implement them within our IEP goals was so important. I really like how doing the MTSS I was able to break it down and then use them to understand which each student will be at and which kind of intervention they'll need, or it would just be the general education curriculum and they will not need any other intervention. Going into that, there was a video that taught us how to break down IEP goals into the performance, the conditions, and the criterion, and that was extremely helpful. I honestly didn't know how to write any IEP goals, and once it was broken down, it makes sense. And I had access to some IEP goals from last year, and I looked through them, and I broke them down, and that's what they are. There's just the performance, the conditions, and then the criterion. So I felt actually pretty good to be able to implement it myself. Sorry. There is yeah, that's those were the strategies or the ideas that I found the most helpful within this course. Thank you, everyone, and I wish you all the best.